Good morning. Welcome in. On a Friday, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Show is brought to you by Patron Tequila, 100% Blue Agave, super premium. Enjoy a Patron Reposado Paloma this weekend as you take in some college hoops. Our guests join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We welcome in the head basketball coach at Mississippi State. They play the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, 90 miles from Starkville, tomorrow night at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Chris Jans, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got to ask you a question that doesn't pertain to Mississippi State hoops real quick because our listeners are going crazy over this, and Jason kind of stumped me earlier this morning. And I know you got a million things on your mind, and I appreciate your time. But you and I talked about this a few months ago. I was at the Final Four in '87 with Boeheim, Bobby Knight, Rick Pitino, and Tart the Shark. Tart the Shark's my favorite coach of all time, but they're all great and Hall of Famers. If Chris, and our listeners are texting in like crazy, if Chris Jans had to say who is the number one guy out of that group, who would you pick?
Well, you got to have some context. Like, what are we talking about? Like, number one guy, like best coach?
Best coach.
I want to hang out with the most.
Both.
I respect the most. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could go. I mean, best coach, you see Pitino, Boeheim, Tark, and who was the fourth?
Bobby Knight.
I mean, that's a tough one.
I know.
That is a really, really tough question.
Here's what I thought about it, Chris. I thought, okay,
go ahead.
All right, so Bobby Knight, the motion offense, and then the whole help side defense and all that. I thought about Boeheim and the 2-3 zone and what a trailblazer. I thought Pitino and the full court press, but also understanding three-point scoring efficiency long before people were talking about it. And then I thought Tark, people didn't give his teams enough respect for the way they defended their tails off because we loved how they were high-flying and their transition basketball. So all of them brought something like cutting edge and trailblazer to the table. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I would have to say, after pondering here for 30 seconds, that if you had to, make me give you an answer, probably because he's still in the game and he's done it for so long at such a high level and he's won everywhere he's been, is I would have to say Rick Pitino, just because, he's still coaching and he's been able to transcend the different changes that have come across college basketball, and he's been in the NBA and back, and he's just won at a high level at so many different places, and he's a basketball coach. Like, everyone knows, like, that's what he loves the most, and that's what he looks himself in the mirror every day, and I'm sure that's what he thinks about. And certainly, Bobby Knight with this recent passing is on your mind, but he did it at basically one school, and was as old school as they come, and who knows what that would look like in this era of college basketball. So for me, Rick Pitino, just being able to coach in different eras and be able to adapt and change the way he has.
That's who I went with. I went with Pitino. The guy that I'd want to hang out with would be Tart the Shark, but and I had conversations with him on the phone off the air, but never got to hang out. Should have just gotten on a plane and went out to Vegas. But anyway, all right, we move on. Chris Jans, head basketball coach, Mississippi State, getting ready for the Crimson Tide, third game on the road out of 4. And, Coach, was Tolu Smith under the weather Tuesday night?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, he definitely was under the weather heading into the game. We've had a lot of that, to be honest with you, recently from staff to players in the last couple of weeks. We've all kind of taken the baton, if you will, and unfortunately ran with it for 2-3 days at a time. And it was Tolu's turn, I guess. And, I don't know how close to 100% he was or wasn't. He didn't say anything to me about, hey, Coach, I need to be watching my minutes or anything like that. But he definitely wasn't himself in terms of practice leading up to that game. That's definitely the truth.
Okay, well, he played 24 minutes and change. Between the injury and let's say he's over that bug 72 hours later, where you are going into Tuscaloosa, where, considering he wasn't full speed for 4 months and so on, but he's, been playing for a month, where would you like to see his minutes? North of 30 to 35? How would you like to see that?
Yeah, that's not how my brain works, man. I get that question all the time about different kids, and the game unfolds in so many different ways, with fouls, with matchups, with who's playing well. I just don't go into games going, okay, we're going to get, Shaq 24 minutes tonight, or we're going to get Toto 32 minutes tonight. I just don't look at it that way. A lot of it really depends on so many factors. In an ideal world, you've got your best players on the floor as much as they can be, with at the same time giving maximum output. Some guys can play, long minutes at a time, where others can only play, 4 or 5, 6 minutes, and their productivity drops off to where the guy that would be replacing him would give us more bang for our buck, if you will. So, again, I'm not trying to be vague. I'm just giving you a long-winded answer. That's how I look at it. Everybody else may look at it differently, but certainly, like I said, you want your best players on the floor whenever possible, but there are a lot of factors that go into it.
All right. Chris Jans on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Dogs Crimson Tide tomorrow night, 7:30. Josh Hubbard and touches, for example, in the second half, again, not touches, he handles the ball all the time. Shots. So you see more than we do. Well, he dropped 16 in the first half, 5 in the second. Would you like for him to look for his shot more? Was it something that they were doing different? How would you frame that up, Coach?
I would have no problem with Josh shooting the ball if he can get a look and it's a good shot for him every time down the floor. I mean, he is a dynamic scorer. He can that the nature of the game. Obviously the defense doesn't see it that way. And just a say in how the game is going to be played. Have it played the way we want it played, but the other team and the other coaches and the other players are doing things that try to inhibit us from doing what we want to do at times. So I think they did a much better job in the second half of paying even closer attention to him. They weren't coming off him. They were putting bigger guys on him than they were in the first half in terms of length and strength, and trying to limit his windows, if you will. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. And I thought on Tuesday that they did a really, really much better job on him in the second half.
As far as like when y'all were going up and down the floor, both teams were scoring at will. Is that what you want? I mean, I know you want your team to score, but are you more looking at it, hey, we want to get in a fist fight and win 72-68, and when it gets up into the high 70s or 80s, that's not really that game? Or are you like, Bo, it's nothing like that? How do you see that?
Well, first of all, they have a shot clock. It's been around for a while. So in terms of trying to play the game in the 50s, it's pretty hard to do anymore. At the same time, since I've been here, we've had a lot of success winning games when people like to tab it, whatever they tab it, ugly, non-aesthetically pleasing, fist fights, whatever. Going into this year, our possessions per game has gone up, especially in the non-league portion of our schedule. We felt like we wanted to play faster. We wanted to get up and down the floor a little bit more. We had more talent. Now that we've got into league play and we're playing some teams that maybe, rival us in overall ability to score the ball, we've definitely tried to pick and choose our in the game to try to muck it up, if you will, and control tempo. But at the same time, it's a fine line because a lot of these teams that are so good on the offensive glass and send so many, if you don't punish them by pushing the ball and taking advantage of, 5-on-4, 4-on-2, advantage situations offensively, and you rely on just scoring in the half court every single time, it's really hard to do. So it's just, it's hard. Sometimes when you push the ball and it doesn't work out, then the other team pushes it back at you, and all of a sudden the game got up and down a little bit more than maybe we want it to. But it's just a fine line, and it's something that we talk about going into each and every game, and certainly we talk about it during the game. So my answer to that is always, hey, I believe that we can win any way you want to win this particular year. We've shown the ability to put numbers on the scoreboard a little bit at a higher level than we have last year. But at the end of the day, against most of the teams in our league, we certainly like the game, like you said, in the score range that you described. But the other team is obviously trying their best to get it to where it ain't,
right,
in that category. They want the game higher, and they're doing things, and they're really, really good at it. We got some of the higher octane offenses in all of college basketball right now that are sometimes pretty hard to control, if you will.
Okay. Chris Jans, Hail State Hoops coach. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. His team plays tomorrow night in Tuscaloosa, 7:30 on the SEC Network. All right, I know you're busy. I got one more. I'm going to try to frame this up right. All right, Tolu Smith getting the ball in the post. And is it taking too long to get something done? And what I mean by that is there too much pivoting, maybe at times too much dribbling, and something needs to either happen quicker, and that is go the goal and get a shot off, and or kick it back out to Hub or Shaq or whoever you have in.
Are these like call-in questions, or are these your questions?
No, is that a bad question?
Well, I mean, you're asking me questions like we can control every aspect of the game, that the other team, the other players, the road don't come into play. Like, hey, Toga, when you get the ball, you know what? When those 6'11", 250-pound guys are coming at you or not coming at you, you need to make the perfect decision with the perfect timing every single time. You know how hard that is to play around the basket in the SEC? You know how physical the game is in the SEC? It's the most physical league in the country. Ask anybody that watches college basketball across the board. It is really, really hard. And we work on what we call PEO, post-entry offense, where we throw it in there to the mid-post or the deep post. And I'm not going to go into all the different rules that we have just within our PEO offense, post-entry offense. And there's a lot going on because people do such a good job of masking how they're guarding it. Sometimes they come on the top side. Sometimes they come on the bottom side. Sometimes they come off the passer. And sometimes, they don't. And so there's a lot going on in a very, very short time span. And it sometimes is difficult. Sometimes it looks great. Sometimes we get a deep paint touch and we score it early. Sometimes we don't and we hit a cutter. Sometimes we hit a guy at the three-point line. But it's a difficult situation, and trust me, I want our guys to make the perfect pass, the perfect play every single time. But there's a lot going on when that ball gets thrown in the post with the size and the athletes and the way the game is called in this league.
No, that makes sense. That's fair enough. All right. Well, we appreciate you stopping by today. You've got this has been a tough stretch. 3 on the road out of 4, and man, Sears and Estrada, holy smokes, among others, can flat out play. They're coming off a hell of a road win at Georgia. So second time y'all get after it in just a couple of weeks, and we'll talk. Hopefully we'll get together and talk in a few weeks, Coach. We appreciate you.
They're all tough stretches in this league. We just got to take advantage of these opportunities, man. Appreciate your time. Hail State.
Thanks, Chris. Chris Jans, head basketball coach for Mississippi State, joining us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. and they're coming off a tough loss against Ole Miss, and then now they got to go to Bama. So they went at Florida. What do we got? At Florida, and then what did they
Auburn
do?
at home?
Auburn at home, in which they won. At Ole Miss, and now at Bama. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the loss at Florida, and then Florida's been kind of cooking recently too.
Yeah.
I mean, with that win at Rupp.
At Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little bit of a disruption on road games this week. Florida won, Bama won, South Carolina won. On the road.
Yeah, I can't believe South Carolina won. That's probably the most surprising. I think the one that makes the most sense in the last week was State beating Auburn because it was at home and State had done it before. You know, State had beaten Tennessee already and then playing Auburn. I feel like that's the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Out of the ones that we just mentioned. Florida at Rupp. You know, Tennessee losing to South Carolina.
I don't know, man. I think you're sleeping on the Gamecocks because they were so bad last year. And he went out in the portal and landed some players. And they're really high-end good players. They're going to the NCAA tournament.
Oh, I mean, they're a great team. They have
Well, I'm not saying
awesome
they're great,
wins.
but they're just so much more improved.
Yeah.
You know, they hit
Yeah.
a wall. They had to make a change with Frank Martin, who, you know, a good coach, but he liked to score 50 points a game. And he did go to the Final Four one year. I was in a Starbucks line with him in the Sandestin Hilton a couple years ago. Nice guy.
Where you just run into people. Just the Starbucks line.
Yeah,
In
at the
Destin.
in the Sandestin Hilton Hotel.
That's
he was
hilarious.
just there hanging out. So we, you know, I gave him some pointers, just like Coach Jans.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if Coach Jans liked my Tolu Smith question.
About getting to the basket?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's thinking of it more of, obviously, with the years of experience that he has and knowing how hard it is.
It is.
I mean,
hey,
like-
Tolu's got people, like he said, he's got people coming underneath to double. They're coming over the top to double, or they're just shifting right on him. And, yeah, I mean, I expect him to make every layup, contested,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times double team, and or kick it to the perfect spot on the three-point line to Hubbard or Shaq for a bucket. Are those too high expectations?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But that was outside of the normal like coach speak that we get from coaches when you
No
ask like
doubt.
what to do. Like he was actually like, well, do you know how hard what you're saying is?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, is it hard? I'm eating nachos and drinking beer while I'm watching the game. No, of course it's hard. We appreciate Jan stopping by on the Out of Bounds show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What was the highlight of the show today?
My delicious bites are up there.
All right, tell everybody what you made again.
So it was Boar's Head prosciutto, and then got Farmer's Market, Farmhouse cheddar.
Boar's Head prosciutto.
Mm-hmm. And then I had to go.
That stuff's so good.
I had some Boar's Head cheese, but it was sliced cheese, and so I needed more of like a Parmesan little block almost, one of those kind of things. So I did the Farmhouse cheddar from the farmer's market. Got to do local, and then little cherry tomato on top.
Yeah, I thought it was delicious.
I was thinking maybe some balsamic or something like that, but I didn't want to.
No,
You know, I didn't want to
and
go
if you
overboard.
if you do that, I mean, when I say drizzle, it's a smidgen of a drizzle,
Mm-hmm.
not even a drizzle,
Yeah,
because those were good.
those are good.
You know, if
So
you do
easy.
a little olive oil, that's fine, but it's great by itself. Now, you and I dipped them into Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary, which made them amazing. I agree. That was one of the highlights of the show.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say my new glasses.
The glasses are a close second. My nickname is a close third. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to 5, Jason,
Okay.
over the weekend.
I need to
I'm
know.
batching it all weekend.
Wow. Time is of the essence when it comes to this right here. So get it done.
Yep. I'm going out on the golf course with my son today. But I'm batching it all weekend when he's at the beach.
Nice. Where
I'm not going to do naked karaoke at your party,
Boo.
but you've got 25 people coming over. And we're hoping the Get Down with the Get Down gets going about, what time's everybody coming over?
Around 7.
Okay, 10 o'clock?
Yeah. Oh, get some. I mean, Miranda got a handle of Tito's yesterday.
Oh.
So she's making like a chocolate strawberry, or I'm making a chocolate strawberry martini for her.
You're making a chocolate strawberry martini.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think I'm going to go muddled strawberries, Tito's, chocolate Baileys, vanilla, a little bit of vanilla vodka, just a little bit, because I feel like that kind of goes well. Got the chocolate Baileys over the holidays, because I'd never seen it before. So I think I'm going to try something like that.
That sounds, I'm not a big strawberry guy, but that sounds pretty damn good.
It does. I'm just trying to figure out the right recipe, though. You know,
Are you as good as Nick Fulton?
No, he's better
at making Tito's vodka martinis. Those 2 Christmas martinis he made were phenomenal.
Now I can make a good, slightly dirty martini.
Okay,
like whenever we were in Scottsdale,
I made a bunch of those as a bartender.
Yeah. Like whenever we were in Scottsdale, his son Nicholas, he asked him to make him a martini, and he comes out and it looks like a margarita. It was like yellow. And so I immediately saw his face. He goes, "Oh, that's going to taste like the ocean."
Yeah.
And then
that's way too much salt.
But then I made a good one. You know, just a little tint to it. That's all you need. Just a little ice cold.
When you say a little, if you're going to do a dirty Tito's martini, it's just got to be less than a drop.
But shake it hard.
Yeah.
Gotta shake it hard.
You want that thing chilled.
Yeah.
I mean, super Arctic-like chilled. It's okay if it's got little flakes of ice in it.
What do you mean,
at the
okay?
top.
That's number 1.
Yeah. You got to have 3 olives, not 2.
Yeah. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant where the bartenders want to
Why do you have 3 olives?
Dale Murphy?
Yes. You're learning.
I'm getting better at this.
You're learning.
I am getting better.
Yeah.
But yeah, at whenever I was a bartender or server and bartender at local, the bartenders would fill up my martinis, just mine, all the way to the brim. So my customers were super happy because they got a heavy pour.
Right.
I had to carry it over there.
That's not easy.
No. And then you got people walking through. You got people leaning back in their chair.
Yeah.
They're going to the
Bumping
bathroom.
around.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there. And then, of course, when you walk past a table of old ladies, 1, you look like me. 2, you're carrying a martini and you're being careful. You're going to get some cat calls, some hoot and hollering. Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
You know, some of those.
Oh, when you're carrying the martini?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe you were the guac master at Babalu.
I should have kept
with,
up.
With, you know, all these cougars and stuff hitting on you.
I'm telling you, if I had a book of all the numbers that I got left, I should have done that. I should have brought the receipts, put it in a little booklet, go through.
You got some numbers left?
I don't think I have them anymore. They had a stack behind the bar at local.
No, but women did leave you numbers.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. One lady left one with her kid, with her daughter.
All right, hit the Keg House this weekend on Highway 51 in Ridgeland. 41 craft beers, muffalettas, gumbo, the games, and golden tea. Does that sound good, Jason?
Ooh, yes. Come on. Golden tea.
The Keg House, right by Casadora's, Highway 51 in Ridgeland. Golden tea, muffalettas, and beer. See ya.